Hello, it's Alicia with Ali.plans.cuteness, and today I wanted to share with you this Ferris wheel that I made and do sort of a mini tutorial. We're not going to go through every single step. A lot of the stuff is pre-cut, but I definitely went through some trial and error to get this to the point where I could spin this Ferris wheel and then also have all the cars. You see they get stuck on each other a little bit, but have them kind of rotate with it as well. And I'm so excited about how it turned out. This is just like the cutest thing. So I was debating whether or not I wanted to make another one. This is for a swap, and I was like, maybe I don't make this one for the hostess, but I'm going to, just because I was kind of tired after doing the first one, because it is a lot of work. But once you get the hang of it, it's not too bad. So it's just a lot of cutting, which I had already done. So I'm like, I should make another one. So I figured I would, as I make the second one, come on and show you what I'm doing. Because again, I definitely had some trial and error moments. And so I can show you what worked for me. That may or may not work for you. There may be other best practices. I remember when this first came out, I had found a tutorial, and that's where we'll talk about like kind of putting like washers in between. That's where I got the idea of the washers. I can't remember whose tutorial it was, and I can't find any tutorials now when I went to make this, so I just pulled up the picture. So that's another reason I decided to make one, because I don't know, I'm sure they're out there and I just wasn't searching properly or something, I don't know. But if you are looking for a tutorial, hopefully this is helpful. So let's get into it. And this is, I had to write it down because I always get these wrong. I call it the LMNOP store. Not out of disrespect, just so I can't keep I know I get the letters mixed up all the time, but it's the KLJUYP Lovers store. If you buy from K's Craft, I'm sure you're familiar with them because they work somewhat closely together. They're not the same store, but they definitely collaborate. And so this is the Ferris wheel mini album. So I got this off of AliExpress. So let's get started. So for this, I cut, I didn't put all the pieces out. I put the main pieces. So there's the Ferris wheel, there's this, and then there's two outlines. I only cut one outline, so I cut the stitched outline, and then there's another one that goes around that. I haven't decided yet if I want to put that on there or not. I also, because I thought this back looked nice as well, and I don't know, I feel like whoever gets this in terms of a swap, they might want to put it on something or use it for something. I'm not sure. So I haven't decided yet. I think it would stiffen it up a little bit, so it might be helpful, but honestly, this is pretty sturdy. It's not going anywhere. It's not flopping. So there are those outlines. So I cut one of the outlines. And then I cut the Ferris wheel. At first I had done one wheel and one base, and that you certainly could do. I think if you're not going to try to make it spin, that is more than enough. You're good to go with just one. But because I was trying to make it spin, I discovered through the process that it made more sense, and we'll do this together to have two. So I cut two of the wheels and then two of the like brace or whatever, stand, whatever you want to call it. And then it does come with these little pieces. So these ones that are all connected, that's like the base. Oh, can't pick it up. That's like the base of your little car. And then these are decorative pieces. So I kept some of them together. They were kind of like weirdly positioned. So when I got them, it was like the plain car in the middle, so I had to cut these apart somewhat, but I tried to keep them together as much as possible just to make it easier for cutting. And so then you just take those outer pieces, the top and the base, and you put it on. And I think this is super cute, so I feel like it's worth it to take that time. But honestly, if you just wanted to use these, like, you certainly could. You could make them just like one solid color, or maybe a pattern paper or something like that. And you don't have to do all the little, this is what took forever. This is what I was like, oh man, I don't know if I want to do another one, because I had to cut all these, there's four cars, sorry, and there's 12 per wheel. So it was cutting them out three times 4 is 12, 3 times for the first wheel, and then when I had originally planned it, I had planned to make 2, so I cut out 6 sets of these. So that's another reason why I was like, I need to just make it. I have all the little parts. So I made these in different colors, and also, again, I got the idea, I don't remember whose video, and I could not find a video when I searched, so if it is you and you run across this, please comment. But I saw somebody at some point take this and just cut little extra pieces to serve as like washers, to go in between, you know, the bracket or the base and the wheel to help it spin easier. So I did cut a couple of those, and I wasn't too concerned about like how precise they were because you don't really see them. They just kind of hide behind here. So this one is a little bit nicer cut, but these are just kind of like put it on whatever scrap I had and chop those off. So I have a couple of washers, and then I will eventually make one. We will need a foam one. What did I just do? Oh, here. So I ended up seeing, and I'll show you as we get through, but I ended up seeing that we needed something a little thicker would be helpful. So I also made a foam washer, and that I didn't die cut. I just hand cut it. So to get started, first we make the wheel. And so let me see if I can even remember. Oh my goodness, you guys. So I'm going to start with the wheel. I think originally, no, I'm going to start with one wheel, and I'm going to put these on because one of the issues that I found was when I put these brads on, the brads in the back kept catching. So, you know, when you put in a brad, you separate it, and then you have those little metal pieces. Well, those metal pieces kept catching down here on the legs, and then it got stuck and it wouldn't turn. And so I tried first taping them, which I still will advise so that they don't poke out. But they still caught, and so then I just put another wheel on the back, and that seems to have solved the issue. So first we are going to put them, and I like rainbow order, so I like to line them up. I'm very much a fan of like colors and patterns, and you can even see there's like some have hearts and some have stars, and so I alternated so that like these are star, heart, star, heart, star, heart, and then the other two are over here, so it's like heart, star, because I'm just funny like that. I like things to be very, I don't know, balanced. So that is these, and you'll do 2 sets of them. And so that's the order I put them in. And then I also had these brads, and I also kind of laid those out in advance because, again, I'm just silly like that. And these I ended up altering. I'm going to use the pattern I used here because these I ended up shifting around just a little bit because of how the colors fell. Green, turquoise, pink, and then the dark pink. And then I put another turquoise in there just to kind of break up all this pink, orange, green, turquoise. Okay, should have done that beforehand, sorry. Again, I just like colors to be very balanced. So then you just literally go in and put these in. So you go ahead and line up the little hole to the hole on the wheel and flatten this. And somebody pointed out you want to not make it too tight. So I kind of like hold it popped out a little bit, if that makes sense. So there's a little bit of a gap because that's what's going to allow your wheel to turn. And what I meant by taping, and I think I'll just do this as we go. So what I don't want to see is a bunch of these little spikes sticking up, right? Like I don't want the little edges to poke out. So originally that's why I started taping them, because they kind of annoyed me that they kept sticking out. So I literally just took a little bit of Scotch tape and put it over these hooks in the back, or these little prongs in the back. It's not precise, it's not perfect, I don't even know, if it will hold super well. So if somebody else has a better idea for how to do this, I am all ears. But that is essentially what I did. So just put tape around it so that now it's not going to twist and turn and stick out, hopefully. So you just keep going around the circle with your little brads and your little tops. And again, I just kind of hold it so I don't, I make sure it's not completely tight flat against the, like you can see it kind of pops up there. So I have that, and then again, I'm just going to tape it down a little bit, and all right, I'll do one more, and then I can kind of edit videos, but I'm not great at it, and usually if a video requires editing, it just doesn't ever get posted. So I'll do one more with you, and then I will pause the video. Sorry, you can even see that, and finish up the rest of these, and then show you what I did after that. So again, and as I'm going, I just keep testing it to make sure that the little cars are spinning, and also that the brads are not spinning, because I don't want those little prongs to be sticking out. Again, I don't want them to like be turning and poking out of the side like that, if you can see. So a little bit of tape. But yeah, I'm not going to do the like speed thing because again, that I think I know how to do that, but it takes me so long, and then I never post the video. So I'm just going to pause this video here and keep going. See this one? Is this one turning? And so that's the other thing. If it's not really turning, I might like, yeah, there we go. Just bend it a little bit, make sure it's not too tight. All right, so I'll pause, and then I will come back when I have all 12 of the cars, and I'll show you the next step. Hello. Okay, so I am back, and I actually already have a modification from what I did with this one. So the Scotch tape, the reason I did the Scotch tape in the first place was because I hadn't planned to back this. And so when I was thinking like what kind of tape could I use to hold these down, Scotch tape wasn't ideal, and you can see it kind of like this one, it's popping up. So I sometimes had to like put tape over the tape to make it adhere and stick, and it worked. You can see they're not moving around, like the little back pieces, whatever you call them, aren't sticking up. But I realized, wait a minute, this is still kind of fussy, right? It doesn't perfectly stick. I have to keep like retaping and ripping the little Scotch tape, and this is kind of the part that I disliked the most, was trying to get these all down. But if I am going to back this with another piece, I can use double-sided tape because there's something for it to stick to. And so I grabbed my red line tape, and you can use like a tear tape too. I don't know. I just did the red line tape because I feel like that has a stronger hold. And so I started putting the red line tape on there, and that seems so much better. They're not wiggling around really, and I think it'll hold better because you can see when I glued this, it definitely, like, it worked and it stuck. It's not like coming apart per se, but there's some places where, there's a little bit of a gap because, you are gluing these. There's not a lot of like room for the kind of bumps or bubbles with it just being this thin circle. And obviously these backs of the brads creates a decent sized bump in the paper. So I am going to pause this. I am going to go ahead and do the back of this. Now I will say I've noticed a little bit more. A couple of these are not wiggling as well. So I don't know if the red line tape is holding it too tight, but that's also why I keep, when I do this throughout, I always like swing it to make sure, see, now it looks fine. just to make sure that they're moving the way that I want them to. As they sometimes, you know, flip or get stuck on each other, but now they all seem okay. So yeah, so that's something I would also suggest, is just keep checking them so you can, you know, adjust the brad as needed. So I'm going to pause you. I'm going to finish with the red line tape, peel off this very annoying Scotch tape that, again, as you can see, is already peeling up anyway, and then we will finish up. Okay, so I thought I should do one of these with you on camera, because as I was doing it, I realized like this is also kind of a fussy process. And so I just want to make sure that, you know, you're clear on what to do. It's fairly self-explanatory, but just in case. So basically, the red line tape you need to cut because it is, it's not like terrible. I have scissors, by the way, that I just use for adhesives. So, or mainly for adhesives, but I use, these are my like, they're fine tip because sometimes I do need a fine tip to like get into something, but they can get gooed up and stuff, and they are, I mean, they're Singer scissors, so they're kind of nice, but I got them from Ollie's before all the crazy crafty hauls, but so I actually got them really cheap, and so I don't mind. Like, these are my gunk up scissors, and then I have a pair, I have these ones that are my like only use them for paper fine tip scissors. So you cut off your little piece, and then you want to line up your brad, and then this, it is kind of important because, again, this is a very thin surface that you're working on. You don't want the red line tape to stick out, which you didn't with the Scotch tape either, but it was a little less of a big deal because it doesn't really stick to anything. But the red line tape is very sticky, right? So if it's sticking out over the edge, it can stop your little cars from turning. Oop. And so I just wanted to point that out, that, you know, you want to make sure it's over, and I kind of like use my nails to like almost like tuck it down around the brad. And you can see like this one, it still is not perfect. They still are moving a little bit. And that's where hopefully having this on top of it will help as well to kind of prevent some of that. It did with the Scotch tape. Once I put this down, then the Scotch tape kind of held in place when it was popping up before. But just to show you that, I'm going to pause and peel all these off, because that also, so basically you're just going to go through. And again, this is a little tricky because the it's not like super great adhesion, is that the right word? To the paper, so it's kind of sticking more to the brad than the paper, so peeling this off is kind of a pain, but I always find this a pain. I don't know, some people use like pokey tools and stuff, which is smart, but for me, half the time it just peels up the whole thing. So I don't know, if you have any tips or tricks for that, let me know. So I'm going to pause this and peel off the rest of these little backings, and then we will do the next step. All right, so I've taken off all of the backings, and I take back my earlier sentiment that the red line tape is going to be less fussy than the Scotch tape. It certainly was to put down, but getting off those teeny little backings, especially when the tape only wants to stick to the brad, and you can see it's kind of popping up. I don't even know if you can see that, but it's kind of popping up off the corners and trying to peel off when it's not stuck to anything. Yeah, it was definitely a labor of love. I kind of feel now the way I felt after I did all the Scotch taping with this one, where I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. And then I finish it and I'm like, oh, it's so pretty, I need to make another one. So yeah, the tape part is very frustrating to me. So if you have a better way, definitely share it in the comments. But again, at this point, the tape part is really to keep these from turning and poking up out. And that's honestly the only way that I can think of to do it. So now we are going to, and I still think the red line tape is going to be better, because I still think the adhesive, the adhesion, the stickiness, I think it's going to stick together better than with just like the Scotch tape. Obviously is not going to hold both of these, and then the glue is, it works, but again, it doesn't like the brads. So I still suggest the red line tape, but yeah, it's the taping part is my least favorite. So now I'm gonna glue these up. I didn't put glue on like everything. Definitely on the outer edge and on the inner circles. And then I think I did like every other line. I don't need on every single thing. That's a lot of little spots. I know a lot of people like the Barely Arts glue. I've heard that's great. I use the Nuvo Deluxe adhesive, and I just recently got my hands on one of these glue press things, and oh Nikes, just got glue on my car. That's not good. That's not gonna turn if it's glued down. Eek. Okay, well, as long as it doesn't stick. But anyway, I find this much easier to work with than trying to just hold the glue. So I like this adhesive. I think everybody has their preferences, but I've heard some people say they have mixed reviews about this. I love it. I feel like it makes it just so much easier than trying to like squeeze out the bottle. I feel like I just get a much more, it's just easier to do a bunch of different lines and things. Although right now I seem to not be able to do this in a straight line. That's okay. It's all good. This is the true trial and error that you are seeing. So when you put this on, you obviously want to make sure it's lined up with the holes, which is a little easier said than done. So the way I did it, because I think it gets tricky because of the brads, they kind of mess up the alignment on the outside. So I tried, ew. And of course the red line tape, now that I have that, really wants to stick, which I did not have that happening before. So, all right. So again, as you can see, this is kind of fussy. Trying to get it lined up just right. And I mean, honestly, if it's not perfect, it's nothing tragic is happening. Yeah, I think we're gonna have to call that one good enough. Because the red line tape is making it not want to move, which is in many ways a good thing, but is also meaning that I can't like shift it around as much. So again, another potential thing to consider if you are going to go the tape route and you're not sure which one to use, better adhesion with the red line, but also less flexibility. Oh, come on. Okay. Make sure you're good. And if they are sticky, I just kind of like bend it a little bit to figure out like what's the, oh, I think this is the one I glued. That's the problem. I glued you. Of course you don't want to turn. You were glued. Okay. Come on. I'll just have to keep messing with that one to make sure that the glue, as it dries, this is pretty good adhesive, so I want to make sure that it's not making that stick to the background. But there we go. I'll just keep playing with it. So now we have our wheel, and then we have our base. So I doubled up the base. You don't have to, but I just felt like also doubling the wheel makes it more sturdy. So when it was just one, it was kind of flimsy, and because when you mount this, right, it's really only the base that adheres, and so all of this is theoretically kind of flopping around, and so you want like a nice stiff wheel so that it doesn't like bend in half and like flop over on you, and having a stronger base just seems to also help with that. So I glued these together, and so let's do that. And again, you don't have to make these move. I think it's a super fun feature, but this is much easier if you just like make it as a card and glue it all down. And then you don't have to worry about all this. All right, and I'm gonna paper clip this because This metallic paper also is part of the issue. It doesn't really want to stick very well, but it's pretty, so I use it and just make it work. So yeah, having like paper clips or clothespins or some kind of clips around when you're gluing things is always handy, just in case it doesn't want to hold itself down. All right. Okay, so we're gonna leave that for a minute, and then while this is kind of drying, we are going to work on the washers. So I would do at least 2 of the paper ones. I don't know that you have to, but I feel like the foam might stick more. I feel like the paper is going to glide a little bit easier. And the reason I did end up putting the foam is because I wanted this wheel to have a little bit of separation from the background. You can kind of see that. It's not a thick foam, right? It's just a little 2mm foam. So it's not a huge gap, but it gives enough of a gap so that when this is spinning, it's not catching on these legs. Because before, even when I adhered the back so that it wasn't the backs of the brads that were sticking, it was still sometimes kind of catching. These little cars kept catching like on the legs, and so that helps. I mean, they still catch sometimes, but it's much less of a thing. So I just literally, you can see I got it out here. You could die cut this. I don't think it's necessary because you're not really going to see it. So you just want to make sure it's not bigger than the one that you're putting in the mid, that like middle, whatever it is, this circle, right? You want to make sure it's not bigger than, oh, that was a washer. I was like, oh no. I just saw something pop up and I thought it was like one of the cars. I was like, how did that happen? So you just want to make sure it's not going to stick out over the edge, right? So you can see it, which this is fine. And then I have a very a small hole punch, so it makes a smaller hole, because a big hole, I mean, I guess it'd be fine, honestly, because it's between the 2 pieces, but a big hole, a brad, even a bigger brad, you might have an issue with. So I just went and put it in there and punch. The punch doesn't always love the foam, but that actually was fine. So I have my little foam washer, and so then I'm just going to do the paper and then the foam and then the paper. And for this, you do want a bigger brad for the center. So I used the tiny brads because a big one I think would be like super overwhelming with these cars. But for the center, a tiny one is like potentially like, it's like just the right size, and I didn't want it to like fall through or have issues. So I used a bigger brad for the center. So we've got my wheel, we've got my paper, my foam, my paper. Put that through. And then, and again, you can kind of test and see, is it working? Which right now it is, yay. And the cars are working. Even my little sticky yellow one. It's doing okay. So then we're gonna put this onto the back. Hopefully this is dry enough, we'll see. So again, I'm just gonna put it on here. And again, it's the same thing as before. I don't want to make my brad super tight because I want this to be able to spin, right? So if it's super tight, it's not going to want to spin, but that seems pretty good. All right, hopefully we're good to unclip. If not, I can reglue it later. But then it's just putting it on the back. And this too, again, this red, you can see it sometimes a little bit, it pokes out, but it's not enough that I thought it was worth trying to fuss with. So that one is just, it is what it is. and then you just mount it on your back. And so you line this up, and you can see here the outlines. So if you didn't want to go through all this trouble of making it move, you can see that there's like outlines for the cars. So you could just glue them down flat and it would still be an adorable Ferris wheel, even if it didn't rotate. And there's, you know, the background would kind of cover or would still surround those cars. But I think it's fun to make it move. So I'm going to glue it up a lot, because I want this base to be super well adhered to the background, right? Because this whole wheel is being held on by this base. So go ahead and line it up. Make sure I'm still in. Okay. And I want to push these down without like squeezing out a bunch of extra glue and then making the wheel stick like I did with my little car. And there you have it. It's not, you know, it needs to dry. I wouldn't play with it too much until it's fully dry, but we have a completed Ferris wheel that moves and can be mounted to anything. Again, you can use this as, you can make a card out of this, you could put this on an album, you could just have this be like a decoration on something. I might make one. Probably not gonna make another one for a little while, but I will maybe at some point make one for myself and just have it as like a little decoration to play with, because I like that kind of thing. But there you go. So hopefully that was helpful. Definitely in the comments, let me know what you think. Let me know if any of this was useful for you. Also, if you have tips or tricks, if you've made this and you have better suggestions, like obviously I'm still figuring this out, and I'm sure other people would appreciate as well. So any wisdom that you can share about how to do this easier or in a more effective way, I would love to hear it. But thank you so much for watching. If you enjoy these videos, please like and subscribe. I'm really trying to build my subscribers, so I very much appreciate the subscribes and all the comments and things like that. They definitely make my day. So thank you so much. Have a wonderful day and happy crafting. Bye.